I'm Chris Gardner of the Houston Round Bar Review, speaking with Lindsay Edmonds, head coach of Rice Women's Basketball. Coach, first off, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you again for taking time to talk to me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
My pleasure. Now, you've announced the schedule for the upcoming 2022-2023 season. 29 games, 15 home games. I'm always curious about this. We'll get into a little bit of a breakdown in a second. What's the process in putting together a schedule? Do you have in mind, I want to play some power fives, I want to play this, that? How does that work?
Yeah, I think, at the end of last season, we kind of evaluated where we were at and where we thought we could go for this season. And we knew we wanted to challenge ourselves a little bit more this year than we did last year. Last year, like I said, when I got here, there was not a lot of games on the schedule. And by the time I got staff together and then all the things that happened, there just weren't a lot of games out there. So we knew this year we wanted to challenge ourselves and get ourselves a little battle tested before we get into conference play. So we started looking at, what programs in the state of Texas can we play? What programs have been successful in the past, and started just kind of piecing it together. We knew we had a few return games from last year's home and home. So then you just kind of start piecing together, okay, now we need X amount of home games, and just kind of working around what you can get and saying no to some schools and saying yes to some schools.
And what's your philosophy on home and homes? Do you like 1-for-1 deals? Do you prefer 2-for-1 or anything like that? Anything specific?
So far, the only thing we've done here have been home and home, so just 1-and-1s. I know I heard from, previous staffs that used to do 2-for-1s with Texas A&M, but we haven't got into any of that. We've just been doing home and homes right now. And again, this is last year in Conference USA. Mm-hmm. I think philosophy will change a lot next year moving into American. American has some stricter guidelines on the types of teams that you can play and the rankings of the teams that you can play. And all of that too. So, and less games. So a lot more non-conference games for American. So, Coach Nick helps me out a lot with scheduling. We're already thinking about what we need to be looking for that first year in American, which is crazy because we haven't even played a game this year and we're already thinking about next year's schedule. So, there's different philosophies out there. And I'm still kind of learning mine. Right now, I really just wanted us to get challenged. I wanted us to have some games that I felt like we could win, but I also wanted us to get challenged. And so I think we've accomplished that with this year's schedule.
And this year, there'll be 20 conference games in Conference USA. When was that determined? And did that impact who you scheduled non-conference this year?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was determined pretty late. I think Conference USA couldn't decide on what we were going to do. And then once we decided what we were going to do, it took a long time to decide how we were going to do it. So, unfortunately, we found out pretty late that we were going to go to the 20 game schedules, probably sometime in July, which meant a lot of people had already planned for 11 non-conference away games because we thought we would just be playing the 18 conference games. So once we found out that the conference was going to 20 games, we had to drop a couple of games and push to the following year, which isn't always easy, but pretty much out of our control. So we needed some schools to work with us in order to get our non-conference down to only 9 games.
And out of those 9, I think only 2 of them are outside the state of Texas. Is that right?
They are. Yeah, just 2. So we'll do a California swing trip, and we'll play at St. Mary's, which they won the WBI championship last year. And then we'll return to Pacific, who came to us last year. So those are our 2 that are on the road. The rest of them are either pretty local or home games.
And let's talk about that. I think you opened the season against exhibition game, Texas College, but then November 10th, Stephen F. Austin, and they've been really good
Really good.
recently. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about that first matchup?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous already. I saw some of their coaches this summer. I was like, man, y'all please take it easy on us for that first game. But they're a great team. They've won their conference. They've been to NCAA tournament. They understand what success looks like, and they know how to compete, and they compete at a high level. They press a lot. They zone a lot. So we've already peeked ahead just a little bit, thinking about, like, what do we need to make sure we're prepared for on November 10th. So it's going to be a lot different than last year's. We didn't do an exhibition last year because we did 2 scrimmages, and then we opened up against a 9D1. So it's going to be a very different game for a home opener from last year to this year. And I think our players are ready. I think they're welcoming of it and excited for the opportunity to compete at a high level, and to get them at our place is even more exciting.
Do you consider style of play of opponents to help your team get prepared for conference play?
Not so much. But again, just quality of teams, and they press and zone a lot. There's some other teams on our schedule that won't press and zone, so it is nice to get a variety of style of play, so that by the time you get into conference, you've kind of seen a little bit of everything, and hopefully you're ready for whatever you could be thrown at in your conference. So I like that they bring something different. There's not a lot of teams that I think of right now that are on our schedule that are going to press the way they're going to press. So that's good for us to see what it's going to look like and see how we can do against it.
What is the next game would be Abilene Christian? What's their kind of style of play?
Yeah, they shoot a lot of threes. They move the ball around really well. And I mean, they've been successful. I think the last year or so, they maybe weren't as successful as they wanted to be. But again, I think they're a great program. And I think they'll be a good test for us as well. They'll also prepare us a lot for St. Mary's. Similar style of shooting a three, moving the ball really well, move well without the ball as well. So I think Abilene Christian prepares us to get ready for St. Mary's as well.
And then after St. Mary's, you talk about Pacific on the road on the 19th of November. How about their style of play?
Yeah, they they came here last year and they gave us a great game. They have a really dynamic freshman that's now a sophomore on their team. They're more athletic, can get downhill on you a little bit more. And so I think that's going to be a little bit of a shift from a St. Mary's to a Pacific. But again, I think it's something that we're excited for, and we got to go to their place and make sure we take care of business and don't just assume because we beat them at home, we can beat them on the road. So we got to make sure that we have the right mindset for that one.
And then after Pacific, matchup against the team in the city of Houston at Texas Southern. What is your, because it'd be Coach Skeet's first year at TSU. What's your relationship with her? Have you known her for a while? Have you met her at all? Anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know her. She and I have talked through texts and emails trying to figure out, the scheduling of this game and the time and all of that. So haven't developed a relationship with her, but I've heard great things, and I'm sure she'll get the program going over there the way they want it to be. But yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to really sit down and chat with her.
With her being any first-year head coach, how do you prepare for a new opponent? You may never seen them coach before. Philosophy. Do you wait for games during this current season? What do you base anything for preparation?
Yeah, that one's hard. Yeah, the good news is it's like our what would that be? That's our 5th game of the year. So hopefully they've played several games before that as well, that we can get a taste of what they're trying to do this year. I haven't even honestly looked at rosters. I don't know if their roster turned over with the coaching change or not. You can get some idea on personnel from last year's film. But as far as like defensive and offensive philosophies, we're going to have to wait till they play a couple of games this year so that you can get a feel for what she's trying to do. I know at my former place, when I was playing an opponent with a first-year head coach, I would always watch like where they came from before that, and whether they were the head coach or the assistant coach, thinking like, maybe they're going to bring some of those philosophies into the program, but that's all a complete guessing game. You really have no idea. So the good news is it's not game 1 or game 2, it's game 5. And so hopefully they've had some games under their belt as well.
After the game at TSU, you go to Reed Arena in College Station to play Texas A&M. Coach Taylor's first year at A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So for a matchup like that, would you look at her Georgia teams to kind of prepare for that matchup?
Yeah, for sure. I think the world of Johnny Taylor. I think she's an unbelievable person and a great coach, and have a good relationship with her. But I will be watching film on some of their Georgia stuff. But then again, 6th game of the year, so they probably played several games. So we'll get a taste of how they're gonna do things at Texas A&M. Personnel is probably a little bit different because it's not everyone that she recruited. So we'll be able to watch some film from Georgia to get a feel, but also watch some games from this season and see what they're doing in those early games.
And then after that, you come back to the Fieldhouse, December 2nd, play TCU out of the Big 12, Coach Peebley's program. Again, this is a lot of schools in Texas, so I know most of these programs. So what are your thoughts about going against TCU?
Yeah. We were looking for another school to do a home and home with, and we needed someone to start on the road. And so we were just kind of reaching out to some programs, seeing what they thought. We also knew with Abilene Christian coming here, we were going to Abilene Christian next year. So we were thinking, man, if we can get to Abilene Christian and then maybe drive over to Dallas and play a game and then come home, it could be like a weekend swing. So we were reaching out to all the Dallas schools, UTA, we were reaching out to TCU, and just trying to figure out, was there some other opportunities for us to make a swing with Abilene Christian and a Dallas game. And TCU jumped before anybody else did, and it's like, all right, let's go for it. So again, I think there was some turnover on their roster, so it'll be interesting to see what their team looks like. I know they picked up a few out of the portal, and so you don't know what they're going to bring to the team. But again, excited about the opportunity for us to be challenged and see where we stack up against those types of teams.
Now that game's on December 2nd, so the next game is not until the 10th. So I'm assuming that's because of finals.
Correct. Yeah, we can only play so many games during the last week of classes, during study days, and then during finals. So we can only play 2 games. So there has to be a big break in there.
How much of an adjustment is that for you scheduling pertaining to Rice academics?
You know what? And I don't know if it will stay true every year, but last year, the last week of classes was so much tougher on our student athletes than actual exams. I didn't really even have a lot that had exams. Even our freshmen didn't have exams, and that was like mind blowing to me. I'm like, you guys are at Rice, like as a freshman, you would think you would have 5 exams. But I think a lot of professors here like load them up during the last week of class, and then they don't have final exams per se, or they may have a project, or they may have a paper, but there's not a lot of final exams. So if that sticks and stays true to this year, I think that'll be great. But I don't even know yet. We haven't even reached out to academic advisor to find out who has exams and who doesn't yet. So it'll be interesting. Those are the times that you give them a couple of days off for studying or exams, or you practice a day or two, get a couple more days off, and then hope that you can get 3 days before your next game of practicing under your belt, so you're back in game shape and back ready to go. But some of that will depend upon what our exam schedule looks like, and I hope we're not in a fog when it's time to play Houston, because they're going to be tough as well.
Just talk about that matchup. What's their style of play with Coach Huey over UH?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they're closer to a Stephen F. Austin, where they're going to press and they're going to be aggressive and they're going to get after us defensively. We're going to have to be able to handle that pressure. Very athletic at all positions. So closer to maybe a Stephen F. Austin in those regards. So we hadn't seen that since the first game, really. Although I think Coach Taylor will be trying to press at A&M, but I don't know if it'll be even the style that I think Huey does over at Houston.
And what's your thought process on playing the Houston area programs annually?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's something that we can get going. Last year, when I got the job, Houston was trying to get on the schedule. Just they wanted to play a little bit later into December than I wanted. I wanted our players to be able to go home for a bigger break, and they were looking at like they wanted to play on December 22nd, and I didn't want to keep our kids here that long, so we just couldn't make it work out last year. But I hope it's something that we can continue to do. With them going to Big 12 and us going to American, I think it's a game that should be able to happen probably every year and just rotating back and forth. I have even picked Coach Pear's brain a little bit about how he's doing his like invitational here with Houston Baptist. Is that something that maybe Huey and I could try to get going here? Also, with us being so close, having two gyms, us both play an opponent, the winner of that play, and maybe we rotate years where the championship of the shootout is or whatever, and hopefully it's us and them every year. But I don't know, as something that's been kind of in my head, thinking about needing to see if that's something that he would be interested in as well.
And I'm showing my age because I know years ago Rice women's basketball used to have the Hackerman Invitational, where they had teams come in, and every so often it was like a 2-day event, so it's 4 teams total.
Okay.
So that was, and every so often they had a pretty big time opponent come in as one of the 4.
Okay.
So that's something to think about. And that was
sure.
in December, like the first weekend of December as well.
Okay.
So I'm showing my age on that one. So, all right, I think the last game non-conference is against Sam Houston.
Correct. Yeah.
And that'll be at home as well. Coach
Yeah.
Justice, no program. What about them?
Yeah, we went up there and had a tough battle against them last year and really kind of took off in the fourth quarter. Ashlee Austin really kind of took off in the fourth quarter, and we were able to pull that game out. So they'll come back to us. It's going to be an education day, so it's going to be a really early tip, 11:15, with a lot of screaming kiddos. Hopefully they're all screaming for Rice and not Sam Houston. But they're scrappy. They're athletic. They're really dynamic, getting downhill. Off the bounce. So we got to be able to guard and we got to be able to defend without fouling, without allowing them to just get to the rim and get layups. They got a lot of layups on us last year. So we got to get better at guarding them, sitting down and guarding, which has been a focus of ours probably all summer long, is just defending one-on-one a lot better. So hopefully we've done that.
And then you opened up conference play against Middle Tennessee on December 20th. Just your overall perspective of the teams and conferences for this coming season?
Yeah, middle's gonna be a tough one to start out with. I think they got everyone coming back from last year, and then they added Savannah Wheeler from Marshall's program onto their roster. So they're pretty loaded, and they run a system that's hard to guard. So we're going to get challenged right away. I'm glad that we're at home against them, but that one's going to be a tough one. Overall, I mean, they're all going to be tough. I think playing everyone at home and on the road is going to be a true indicator of kind of where everybody's at. I think last year, again, I think that's why they went to the 20 games. Some people would say, this schedule was tougher than this schedule, or this schedule was tougher on this schedule, just based off of who they played twice, who they didn't play, who they only played once. So it'll be a strong indicator this year to see kind of where everybody's at. But, Charlotte reigning champions, they got a lot of pieces coming back. Western Kentucky's got their freshman of the year coming back from an ACL. So I'm sure she's back by January at the latest. North Texas was really good as well. Tough opponents for us. I mean, I could go on and on. They're all going to be tough. I don't think any game in the Conference USA. Last year, I didn't walk into any of them thinking, "Or we're definitely winning this one," and I'm not sure I'll think that way this year either. We got to go in. We got to do what we can do, because there's a lot of great teams out there. So we got to take care of business and just take it a game at a time.
And we're almost done. Coach Edmonds, Rice University women's basketball. How's your team right now, health-wise?
Health-wise, we're doing well. We've had a great summer. They had some time off, and we're easing back into things. Last week, we only did a couple of days of basketball. This week, we're only doing a couple of days of basketball, and then we'll start picking it up but we're easing it in. Again, here at Rice, their schedules are tough, and they're changing their classes, and they're figuring out their classes, and that's so important. So we want to give them the leeway to be able to do that. So we've just now kind of got where we know that they're not changing any more classes, so we can start to schedule individual workouts, team practices, lifts, and kind of hit the ground running. So everybody's doing great and excited about where we're at, but excited about where we can be even more.
And I want to ask you about, you mentioned her, Ashlee Austin. Ashlee interned with the local organization for the Final Four, men's Final Four. Mm-hmm. She spoke at an event a couple weeks ago. Just what are your thoughts on her being an intern and learning about the process of sports business kind of thing?
Yeah, I think she had a wonderful opportunity to have that internship. She learned a lot. She talked about her experiences there and how much she learned and how much she grew, and the ability to have a voice at such a young age in an internship, I think is just unbelievable. She's talked with me about that internship could possibly be job opportunities once she does graduate. So I think that's definitely a connection that she's hoping to continue to grow in and build so that, a couple years down the road, it can be a job opportunity for her. So again, I'm really proud of her, and I love listening to her speech and how she handled herself and represented Rice and represented our program. So yeah, I think she had an awesome opportunity. I think Houston provides a lot of opportunities for fantastic internships, and that's one of the things that we sell in recruiting is you're going to get an opportunity to get an unbelievable internship in Houston. And Haley Swayze's had one in my time. Now Ashlee Austin's had one in my time. I'm sure there will be others. I'm sure there's a lot of impressive ones in the past, but those two have really loved their internship opportunity since I've been here, and I think it's just something that's really important.
Final question for you, Coach. Where are you in the program? This is your second year at Rice. Where are you in terms of things going according to your plan? Everything going well? Surprises? Bumps on the road? Yeah. What do you think?
It's going really well. Again, last year, the ups and the downs, I don't think anybody can prepare you for. But I think we all, players, staff, myself included, we all learned from it and we grew from it. And we're all really excited to tackle this year and really excited about where we're at. But again, like I mentioned, really excited about where we think we can go. And so, second year, I'm really happy about where we're at. I'm really happy about retaining all of our players. I'm really happy about adding in Fatu in the transfer portal. I'm really happy about the class that we signed. I'm really happy with my staff. So now it's just a matter of us continuing to grow as a family on and off the court and continuing to develop and build and then take it a game at a time. But yeah, overall, in the second year of being a head coach, I'm really pleased with where we're at.
Thank you very much. That's all we need. That's all I need. Thank you very much, Coach, as always. And I will, once practice starts, you'll see my face around there a few times this season.
Sounds great. You're welcome anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.